book. Welcome to Drink in the Style. Isn't that kind of cool? Professional, greeting, warm.
Yeah, it's a little different than your usual greetings. You're talking about where you hit the body or something.
So then I'm digging the hole, and the next thing I know, the sirens are on.
Have fun.
You can't throw me out of Rotary, right? Good. You, sir, are persona non grata in this Rotary Club. By the way, I saw that that Searching for Service got Chad to go on.
Yeah, Chad was the guest last week. Yep.
He broke down.
Yeah, they brought him on.
Chad owns the radio station, and he very much dislikes being on shows and doing ads. But
every once in a while, we'll convince him to go on the mic.
Fair enough.
A couple times a year, he'll go on.
Fair enough. All right, whenever you're ready.
All right, sounds good, guys. And stand by. Here we go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Drink in the Style, right here on AM 950. I'm your host, Gregory Rich, and I'm going to help you kill your early evening with a little bit of booze and conversation. I'm not going to lie. It's probably going to be a lot of booze. And the reason we're going to have a lot of booze is we have a fantastic guest today. The theme I am going to call is, well, it's easy, luxury automotive. And the reason for that is that our guest is none other than Michael Stanzak, owner of Key Cadillac in Edina. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to be here. I appreciate the invitation, and hopefully I have something worthwhile to contribute.
I have absolute certainty that you will, because this is a show dedicated to stylishness and to living well and having beautiful things around you. And I mean, there are those who have called the Cadillac of cars. So I think you really fit into that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you like that line?
I like that.
I stole that from The Simpsons.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So Michael and I are going to be talking about Cadillac, a little bit of its history, some of the new trends that it's following, and then we're going to be talking quite a bit about Cadillac's electric car offerings. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. Standing behind the bar in the hypothetical Dan Newkirk Memorial Coctological Chair is none other than Habitation's own Nim. I was going to try. Malawa.
Yeah, you tried. Muerore.
Muero. Right.
Yeah.
Just remember, when you're drunk, it's not called slurring. It's called talking in cursive, and it is fucking elegant. No, Nim, thank you for being on the program and mixing for us. My apologies there. Excited. What have you decided you are going to stir up for us?
Yeah, I'm going to be making a New York sour.
A New York sour. All right. So what are the primary ingredients in a New York sour? And Johnson should probably take us away with our mixing music.
Well, it's definitely bourbon.
Awesome.
And simple syrup. And lemon juice and egg whites.
Okay.
And then we're garnishing with an lemon peel as well.
Fabulous. So a little bit of, so it's going to have a strong lemony taste, obviously, very much like a whiskey sour.
And then a Zinfandel on top.
A Zinfandel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a Zinfandel is. Do you, Michael?
My guess is it's red wine. A Zinfandel.
Oh, Zinfandel.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm not. Okay. Awesome. Sorry about that. I'm an old man. Anyone who watches us on Facebook or YouTube sees the beard and knows that my best years are long behind me.
Oh, no. You're very stylish. The best years are yet to come, Greg. I assure you.
Thank you, Michael.
Just ask your wife, Christine, and your children, and they'll tell you that.
If any of them still talk to me, I would. Just kidding. No, certainly do. All right, Nim. So we've got that. So how many ounces of bourbon are you throwing in?
2 ounces of bourbon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then 1 ounce of the lemon juice, and then a half ounce of the simple syrup, and then it'll be 1 ounce of the Zinfandel.
Wonderful. Okay. So this is going to be a nice boozy drink with a good amount
Yes,
of
it will.
tartness.
Sounds delicious.
All right. And we're going to shake this, correct?
Yes.
And then
Shaken, and then poured over some ice.
using a rocks glass, I see. I love the sound of shaking ice. Right? It's white noise. I should just, Johnson, can you loop that for me and I can just play it in my office on an ongoing basis?
Oh, I think so. We could like make that a ringtone, or you know what? No, I do like the idea. Just loop
A
it in your office the
ringtone. I
whole
like
time.
that.
That would be confusing since I spend so much of my time at bars. I wouldn't know whether my phone is ringing or whether my drink is almost ready. Okay, so you've got that in. Now we're adding the wine as well.
And then that gets poured over a spoon so that it kind of separates out.
Absolutely, which is fantastic. You can also use that technique, of course, to layer liquors. Michael, I don't know if you've ever done that or not, but
No, I haven't. That's something new that you poured over a spoon and it spreads it out. Is that what it does, Nim? Is that what you said?
so
And
be,
then it just makes sure that the wine sits on top.
I see.
which is ideal. Yeah, because otherwise you pour it in, and of course the pressure and the force is going to compel some level of mixing and blending to begin with. This way, we're going to get specific flavors that come through. And look at the color of this bad boy.
Wow, that looks beautiful, Nim.
That is absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a master of the spoon pour because that is not always
She
easy.
is.
We lost the top. Nevertheless, all right, we're going to have to get a picture of this and put this up on social media
Yeah, 100%.
as
I'll make one
well.
over here so that I can take a picture.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to let Nim make a second cocktail. And once that's ready, Michael, we will give it a quick trial and see how it goes.
Sounds great.
So while we're waiting for that, let's get started on talking about Cadillac overall. All right. I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but here's a really quick question. The Cadillac emblem. I love that emblem. I love the little ducks. I love the look of it. What does it mean?
Well, the name of the motor company, Cadillac, was named after the founder of Detroit, Antoine de Moth Cadillac, who was a French explorer, and a lot of the crest has to do with his family seal.
Mm-hmm.
And the little ducks are called merlots, or merlots, I guess, Merlots. And
Wine
that's
or
part
duck?
of the family seal of Antoine de Moth de Cadillac, who was the founder of Detroit.
Really? I
Really?
knew Cadillac was the founder of Detroit, but I didn't realize that was the family seal. I wonder, is it still something that's out there? Like, can you go to see the Cadillac estates of France and see these all over the place?
I have no idea. I know there's a Cadillac museum in Detroit, and you can look at a lot of Cadillacs. Or maybe it's a General Motors museum that has a lot of Cadillacs in it. But
Fair enough. Fair enough. But no, that answers a lifelong question that literally popped into my head just this very minute.
so Cadillac was actually kind of the remnants of Henry Ford's company that went bankrupt, and a man named Henry Leland bought it in 1902 along with another business partner. And thus Cadillac has been around producing cars for 120 years.
Really?
And Cadillac was initially known for its reliability and its innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Leland introduced the electric starter to the car. And back when cars were made in the early 1900s, you had to crank the engine to get it started.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a friend who was cranking an engine on a bridge, and somehow the crankshaft bent back into him, broke his arm. He developed some sort of infection and he died. So it was Henry Leland who invented the first electric starter, which was unique to Cadillac.
That is amazing. Cadillacs are lifesavers.
They are. And then the other thing that happened in the early 1900s is that Cadillac went to England and competed and won the Dewar Trophy, DWAR.
Okay.
And what it was able to do is they disassembled two cars and mixed all the parts together, and they put them back together, and the cars ran flawlessly. because back in the early 1900s, when they were first making cars, they had to have parts specific to the car. So if you could have universal parts that you could switch between the cars, it was a really big deal. So they won the Dewar Trophy.
That's interesting. So now, was this before or after Ford applied the assembly line concept to car manufacturing?
Probably about the same time, maybe a little bit before that.
Okay, because it seems intertwined with interchangeable parts
Right.
as a concept, which
So
makes sense.
Cadillac for a long time was an innovator with safety features, all kinds of things that came along. I should know off the top of my head, but I don't. But believe it or not, they're still doing that. They introduced something called Super Cruise about 4 or 5 years ago, which is, thank you, Nim, hands-free driving. And it's phenomenal. And I've experienced it. It's good on 400,000 roads, 400,000 miles in the United States, where you could, once you're on a divided lane, you can just let go of the steering wheel and the car will drive itself. You can turn the blinker and it'll change lanes. Now, you still have to be aware, Greg, you can't read the newspaper. You still have to casually look at the windshield about once every 2 minutes, but it's a phenomenal system. It works very, very well.
And I'm presuming it's still not allowed to have a cocktail while you're
You
cruising
know,
down the
I think
road.
you probably could, but if the police pulled you over, said, "Gee, Mr. Rich, what's going on here?" "Oh, nothing. I'm just out for a drive."
Officer, hold my whiskey sour. I'll get you the registration.
Right.
That's really, so was this being done? When was this being done? The driverless car or this?
I think it was introduced about 5 years ago
Okay.
in the CT6, and they've made enhancements to it. So in our current Escalade, you can get it. On some of our crossovers, you can get it. On our sedans, you can get it as well.
Okay. Fabulous.
It works
And
incredibly well.
You've tried it. You've driven.
Many times.
Really?
I live in Chanhassen, and I drive to Edina, so I drive along crosstown, and I use it.
How does it compare to, obviously, everybody knows the Tesla driverless car?
You know, I've never driven the Tesla hands-free system. I've just read that Cadillac's is perhaps superior, and they've had fewer problems. So
That's fantastic. All right. Nim has gotten our cocktails prepared here. So let's give this a try, Michael, and let me know what you think.
Be
Oh,
kind.
that's really good.
it's refreshing. It's kind of a sweet sour mix. It's delicious.
It is. This is a nice summer
Well done, Nim.
cocktail.
It's
Thank you.
refreshing. It's effervescent. And I can still taste the bourbon in it, which is great.
You might as well just stay behind the bar because you're probably going to be refilling this son of a pup
No worries.
several times.
No worries.
Oh,
I got
that's-
you.
Oh, that's delicious. It also, since it's two-tone, reminds me of the old Cadillac different colored top and bottom style that was kind of so popular for so very, very long.
You know, another thing about Cadillac is they've always excelled at styling. And I was struggling with how could I describe styling over the radio, Greg? And I mean, everybody has in their mind what a Cadillac would be. And I think most people think of a big sedan,
Mm-hmm.
or I would even throw out there maybe a big convertible with very long tail fins. I think the epitome of that was 1959, where they had very long tail fins, and at the end of the tail fins were red lights that kind of look like something from a World War II plane.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Carly Earl was the designer of the cars. So for a long time, Cadillac has been known for their stylish, be it the bumper bullets in the front or the tail fins in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Of late, Cadillac has taken a lot of pride in their lighting.
Hmm.
So, for instance, if you see a Cadillac coming down the road in the past 10 years, you have vertical headlamps and you have vertical taillights, and they look like nothing else on the road. So they're very distinctive looking.
It is a strange thing how easily identifiable most cars are from taillights and headlights. I don't know exactly why, but it just something I think subconsciously imprints on you when you see a car along those lines.
Well, I think the designers made it that way, and it's a combination of design and art as well as functionality,
Mm-hmm.
showing the light and providing better nighttime visibility and things like that.
Certainly.
But I
makes
think at the
sense.
heart of it is the design in it and the way it looks. So if I can jump ahead and talk about the Lyriq, which is Cadillac's new all-electric vehicle. That's a mid-size SUV. And specifically what I want to talk about is, as you know, in an electric vehicle, you don't need a grille because there's no radiator.
Mhm.
So what you have on the Lyriq is a ceramic panel that runs the length of the front of the car. So imagine you're walking up to your car and you're 20 feet away, and the first thing that happens is a Cadillac crest illuminates. And then you have these LED lights, and the lights go out horizontally, kind of like a bird taking flight. So it lights up as it goes across. And then when it gets to the end, as the lights light up to the end, then you have a waterfall with little droplet lights that come down, and they completely fill up the edge of the front of the car on both sides. It's a choreographed light show that lasts about 25 seconds. It's very unique.
Oh, that's really cool. It
It
you're
is.
suddenly presented. That is so nice. We went through a phase of almost pure utilitarianism in cars. And I think that was kind of Detroit's response to the Japanese car invasion of high utilitarianism. And they went, as Americans often do, a little too far onto the other extreme, which is to say that, we lost a lot of the styling and a lot of the details that turn driving and cars from, functional necessities into something that you actually enjoy being in and around, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. And kudos to Cadillac. Their theme line right now is Be Iconic. And I think that's very well represented in their cars. So they're unique, they feel unique, they drive unique, they look unique. And in a way, it's your own personality, certainly the colors and the trim level that you have and that kind of thing.
Which makes sense. And in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about the Celestiq.
Correct.
That is absolute apex of customizable colors, looks, and things like that. But we're going to keep that. That's a cliffhanger.
As we say
in the show, in the show business, them back in the day.
So one of the things that was very interesting for Cadillac that goes back to 1999 is when they introduced the Escalade. And a little bit of GM politics there. The GMC dealers did not want Cadillac to have a full-size SUV. But somehow somebody in the upper echelons of General Motors went out and Cadillac got the Escalade, which was introduced in 1999. And it has become iconic. It's the number one full-size luxury SUV on the market.
Really? I didn't know that.
And it's in its fourth generation that was introduced in 2021. And the styling of the car is amazing. It just has a presence about it. The interior of the car is gorgeous. It has a 38-inch LED screen that stretches all the way across the dashboard. The pixels are equal to or greater than the best flat screen TV you can buy. The blacks, the colors. It's just the epitome of style, the epitome of power. And it's very, very well received by the public. And in fact, there's more demand than there is supply. So that's an interesting situation to be in, to have something that people really want.
So is it selling above sticker price in most cases?
That's an interesting story that you bring that up. Again, my business is Key Cadillac in Edina, and we sell all our Escalades for list price with the exception of the Escalade V. Okay. The Escalade V is a very limited 1,500 to 2,000. Escalade V's produce out of an annual production of about 25,000. And what I told my staff is, I do not want to be the only dealer in North America that sells their vehicle for MSRP. And then what would happen is people would take that and resell it. So that's the only vehicle that we're selling over list price, which is $20,000 over list price. And we had a gentleman from Wisconsin. He says, "Why are you so cheap at $20,000 over?" So,
are you serious?
We've only delivered 5 so far, and the vehicle's been produced for about a year, so it's very limited. So
yeah. Well, speaking of limited too, and I mean, everyone talks about COVID, and it's somewhat in our rearview mirror, but probably also around the next corner. You never really know. How did Cadillac respond during the COVID supply chain nonsense?
Well, I'll tell you a story that kudos to General Motors. Most of the chips are made in Taiwan. A lot of the chips are made in Malaysia, and someone 2 years ago went to the factory and the people were not vaccinated, and the Malaysian government would not let the factory to be open.
Oh, wow.
So General Motors went in there and said, what if we vaccinate all your employees for COVID? And they said, okay. And they allowed the factory to be open 50% of the time to make chips.
Okay. So you didn't have the acute shortages that a lot of the other companies had.
We
but
all
still
had
some.
shortages. What the whole selling model changed, where we used to have 70, 80 cars in the lot, and we'd have 2 or 3.
Mhm.
And people would come in and say, I'd like to get a car. And we'd say, well, why don't
So
you
would
order the
we.
car? Or let me tell you what we have coming in. And well, how does that work? Well, it's got this equipment and that. And so what do you think? Well, I like it. Well, they'll
Mhm.
put a deposit down, and 6 weeks later, the car would show up. But we just didn't have any standing inventory to deal with. And as recently as the past year, they started producing cars that were maybe missing a little bit of its parts. For instance, you have the hardware for the heated seat or the heated steering wheel. You just don't have the chip.
Mhm.
So you would get a discount for that. You take the car. 3-4 months later, the chip would come in, and we'd install it, and voila, you'd have your heated seats, or you'd have your heated steering wheel, or something
Oh.
like that.
Yeah. See, what a great solution, rather than letting it just sit there waiting for that tiny little last piece.
Right.
All right. Well played. Well played. Was
That wasn't me. That was the people in the tower. That's who did that. I mean,
fair enough. Well, we stepped away a little bit from the style concept of the cars, and I want to talk about the interior more. But first, because I'm in a design industry, I'm always curious about colors to begin with. What are the most popular car colors for Cadillac in 22 and 23?
you know what? A great question. I think you have to go by model. So, for instance, if you go to the Escalade, it's black, it's
Mhm.
white. Maybe a distant third would be either silver or red.
Okay.
If you go with a midsize SUV, there's kind of a gold color that
Okay.
they call vanilla latte that has really taken off.
Okay.
There's also a white diamond or tricoat white color, so it's got a lot of depth and metallic to it. Some of the black colors, stellar black metallic. On a gray day, it looks black, but on a sunny day, it's got sparkles to it. Is
Oh,
well
nice.
received. Blues are coming back. I'd say they're not in the top 3, but they're probably in the top 5.
Okay.
And the blues are interesting. They're almost like a shocking blue or a wave blue. I mean, it's kind of like a in your face kind of blue. So
That is interesting. It is inevitable. We've had a muted color palette in all things for so very, very long that some of the bolder, more aggressive colors you're starting to see in everything from, well, sofas to cars, I guess.
another new color that came out the past year ago was called wave metallic. And so you look at it and you go, well, what is it? Is it kind of green? Is it kind of gray? Is it kind of blue? It's almost like your wall right there. It's a very unique color. It's kind of a muted color, and depending upon again how you look at it in the light, I mean, it's not any one of those colors. I mean, it's a soft wave metallic, kind of a bluish, grayish, greenish exterior color.
Just responds to probably or is influenced by the surroundings, the amount of light that's out there.
Exactly.
Nim, let me ask you, what is your favorite car color?
I think I'm kind of boring. I like a nice tan.
Do you?
Yeah.
Like the champagnes that were really popular and
Yeah.
and that type of thing? I mean,
Mhm.
it is hard to go
What
with
about
a
you, Greg? What's your favorite car color?
That is a great question. All right. Well, here's the deal. My current car is indeed a metallic gray, but with a really cool tan interior throughout. So it's a nice color
Is
combination.
it the diesel Porsche Cayenne
It
out there? That I saw?
is.
Yeah, imagine that.
I know. I appreciate you mentioning that was diesel too, by the way.
How would I know?
Who knew that they made diesel Porsches? I picked that up. I stole that car essentially after Dieselgate, when everybody was terrified of driving them. So it was a guy who had one, and they had the huge refund that they had sent out to all the car owners, and then that of course pushed the price of the car down. And that was what, 7-8 years ago at this point.
Sounds like a good buy to me.
It was. I could actually sell that car today for more than I paid for it back in the day.
What a
That's
good
always
investment. That's unusual with the car.
I know, it's insane. It's insane. But in answering your question, there is, and don't be mad at me by not mentioning Cadillac, but I do really like, and I'm going to take a look at the Lyric too, because I want my next car to be electric. But Porsche has the Taycan that is out there, and it comes in this awesome green, almost a bright green color.
Like a lime green metallic kind of?
It's a few shades darker than
Right.
lime, but maybe like the outside of a lime, not that type of thing. And yeah, and I saw one in that, and I was like, that's actually really, really cool.
That's cool.
I know, but of course, then 2 years later, you absolutely regret it. It's the fear.
I've said to many people, I could drive any car for 2 to 3 years. I mean, I could drive yellow, I could drive green, I could drive because I would be open to changing, to drive it for 2 or 3 years. Then maybe I get tired of it and go to something else. I mean,
So what's your favorite color then?
again, it depends on the model, but I'm kind of a red guy. I like red.
So do
I like a rich red. It could be a Bordeaux red metallic or, more of the Bordeaux red metallic than the fire engine red, but I like red. I think that's just a classy color.
One of my favorite cars of all time that I had was a wait for it, a red Chrysler LeBaron convertible with a black top. I loved that car. It was so cool. So you're right. Red is a great color. Although I have heard that red is the number one accident color for cars.
I heard it's like in the top 2 or 3 for the police to check you down. I haven't heard about accidents. I don't know.
And suddenly red is off the drawing board for me. But
well, it's interesting for resale value in used cars. I mean, there's colors that do really well and some colors that don't.
okay.
Like my 76 Eldorado convertible, light blue is not a real big popular color for used vehicles. I mean, it's
But that
maybe a
particular
black or a
car-
white or a red. It seems to do better.
So red is an asset.
Red
used
is an
cars.
asset in a used vehicle. Correct.
That is fascinating because, again, as I try to tell everybody in the world, the price that you pay for a car is not important. The price that you get when you sell the car is what matters.
Well, can I tell you a car buying story that's absolutely true? It's so funny.
Please.
Okay. So as we see from time to time, although our demographics are going much younger, we had this woman, and this is a true story. It's about 20 years ago, and her husband had passed away, and she came in and she was going to buy a car, and she'd been our customer, and she was going to buy another Cadillac, and she didn't know whether to buy. I'll make it in today's terms: the brand new 23 or the last year's 22 that had 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand she's a single older woman, and she got her financial planner involved. A day went by. She called her financial planner and said, well, what should I get? He goes, well, I'm not done with all the analysis yet. The maintenance, the resale value, all that kind of stuff. I can't give you a recommendation. And she says, screw it. I'm buying the red one. And she did. And she was thrilled to death. And so the moral of that story is, and again, everybody is unique about how they buy cars, but I would in essence say, get what you want. Get what makes you feel happy. I mean, you can't take it with you. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind, but at the end of the day, if you want the one with the chrome wheels on it or the fancy this, get it.
Amen.
Get it. Enjoy it. You deserve it.
A car is an emotional purchase in a lot of ways. It is something that you're showing to the world. It's not that you're necessarily trying to show off to the world, but you are making a statement about who you are in a car. There's no two ways around that. Now, that may be for better or worse. We tend to be a superficial society, but in fact, it's simply a matter of saying this is something that brings me joy, and this is what I'm displaying, right?
Well, I'm smiling because you, being the interior designer, very creative person that has all this beautiful color around. But I think about the insurance underwriter, and he likes gray. I like something very subdued that blends in, and we have that too because that's just who he sees or how she sees herself to be. So that's okay.
Indeed. All right.
We're all unique.
We're going to take a quick break and cut to commercial. When we come back, though, we are going to dive in with both feet, jump in with both feet. I guess you could dive in with both feet, but that would be a little awkward. But we're going to be talking about the trend in electric vehicles and the Lyric and the Celestiq. And this is some really cool stuff, folks. So go refill your cocktail. I know we're going to. And join us back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Drinkin' the Style. This is going really well. Are you happy? Does this feel good to you?
You guys are happy. Are you happy?
Yeah, I think it's good stuff.
I'm not talking too much. I'm not telling things I shouldn't say.
No, you're doing a great job.
That's a notepad. I looked at my desk with that sweet. I'm going to get a Cadillac.
could have, have I heard your voice somewhere, like on radio or TV? It sounds super familiar.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, this is a fun story too. This is like January line. So every time we did a new car on an invoice, there's some amount that goes for advertising. Part of that goes to the dealers adding to the dealers fund. Part of it goes to the local marketing association fund. Technically, it's our money, but General Motors controls the money and has an expiration date on it. We haven't advertised for 2 years. We used to be on cable at this time. So I'm skiing the guys from the Rotary Club, my general manager, Lisa runs the dealership, calls me and says, got a problem. I'm like, somebody died? She goes, no, nobody died, but we're going to lose our IMR funds, about $7,000, but we don't spend it this month. I said, well, call our agency, St. Paul agency, and tell them to throw a commercial together and let's just do it. So we took bits and pieces from commercials for 2, 3, 4 years ago and put it all together so we could spend the money so we wouldn't lose the money.
Of course.
So we did $7,000 worth of cable ads on, Valley Sports North and Fox 9 News and all that kind of stuff. And in that commercial, I'm in the commercials. So probably the most significant commercial that I ever did goes back about 5 years ago when our agency said, hey, there's a new head coach for the Gophers whose name is PJ Fleck, and we think you should be a sponsor of the PJ Fleck Show on Tuesday night for the season. And said, how much it costs? I said, okay, great, do that. And then I said to them, by the way, this wife Heather just bought a new Escalade for us. Would you want her to be in the commercial? Like, oh, she made a commercial, that's great. Pretty appealing. So I called Heather and she said, sure, I'll be in the commercial. So they had just moved to the Twin Cities and they were the new football coach. And Heather, who ironically used to sell Range Rovers in Michigan before she married PJ. So the commercial kind of went like, hi, this is Michael Stanzak. You don't know me, Cadillac. I'd like to welcome our newest customer, and she'd go, hi, Michael. And I'd go, hi, Heather. And go, this is Heather Fleck, and blah, 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 blah. The first thing that PJ and I did when we came to Minnesota was go to Key Cadillac, and the service we've received has just been amazing, and you guys are truly elite, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, that commercial received very well for us, probably because of her, it received very well for her. We're going to commercial about a year and a half, and that's amazing.
Yeah, your voice is super familiar too. It might have been on that, but I feel like I've heard you on a bunch of different radio.
We've had done some radio spots.
It could be your voice though that sounds familiar to someone else. Yeah.
I got a face made for radio, so I'm not good looking like this guy over here. Ooh. You.
Oh, please. No, you're doing absolutely. You have a great radio presence. I think this is going to go really, really well. I can't wait.
I'm relaxed. I tend to babble a lot.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Are there any key points though that you want to make sure I hit on? I mean, I'm going to do the whole, with the website.
I think you could talk about why we need to electric.
Okay,
why we need to electric. And everybody thinks that the powers that be think that's the way it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, General Motors thinks by 2030 Cadillac will be totally electric. And of course, let's talk about a couple fun terms: BEV, battery electric vehicle, ICE, internal combustion engine. So there will be a time when there's going to be a ICE Escalade right next to a BEV Escalade, and they'll be seeing the show at the same time. The other point I want to say is we're going into a strange time in our country, in our world. I mean, think back to when the automobile was first introduced, when there were more horses on the street than there were cars.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were equal horses on the street, equal cars, and gradually the cars outpaced the horses.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally all there were cars, and there weren't any horses on the streets anymore. So I think that's what we're going to be going through with the electric vehicle and the ICE vehicle. Will the ICE vehicle totally go away at some point? I don't know. I mean, California says you can't sell an internal combustion engine in 2030. Who knows?
Thank you.
I think part of it is unknown. I mean, you got the people in the tower, and I don't mean to be slamming the executives or anybody, who have this vision and they think this is all going to happen, whether it's actually going to play out or not.
I read recently that American roads are already surpassing electric vehicles expectations for 2030. So in 2023, we are 7 years ahead of what had been expected to be the turnover in electric vehicles. Which makes sense because I've yet to find anyone who hasn't preferred an electric vehicle to an internal combustion engine.
Well, I would challenge you on that. Let's say that you got a really nice Cadillac, and you really like snowmobile, and you really like ATV and all that kind of stuff. So you're gonna have a BEV, an electric pickup truck that's gonna drive you to Grand Marais, that's gonna tow your stuff. Perhaps. Maybe the electric F-150, the electric Silverado will get there, and maybe there'll be charging stations from Duluth to Grand Marais. I don't know, but there's a lot of dying wolf in the suit inside. You're not gonna take it away. Take it away from my cold dead hands. That's what you're gonna do. I'm not going for that. Are you kidding me? Who needs that? Okay, all right. I get it.
If I don't kill a seal every time I hit the accelerator, it's not a car.
Do they tend to be heavier?
What's that?
Sorry.
Do they tend to be heavier, like electric vehicles?
You know, what a great question.
Mhm.
A little bit heavier because of
Okay.
battery packs. Yes.
And yet,
They do.
you cannot get the large vehicle deduction, the 6,000 pound requirement on an electric vehicle the way you can on an internal combustion, which drives me fucking crazy.
But
Hmm.
so you can get a $7,500 federal tax credit, provided your gross annual income for you and your wife does not exceed $225,000, or as an individual exceeds $150,000. But if you make less than 150 grand and you're an individual, you can get a $7,500 federal tax credit.
Which is great, but in our case, with the 6,000 pound deduction, it allows you to deduct the entire price of the car in just 1 year.
Oh, I thought it was just 50%.
No.
I'm not a taxi.
Trust me on this one. Yeah, at 6,000 pounds or above, I get to write it all off in just 1 year, which is,
Could be significant.
but yeah, exactly. And, and that is, and why they won't extend that to the electric cars is
Again, I think we're trying to figure it all out. I think the state legislatures and the federal government is trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
I think that there's a huge move towards charging infrastructures across the country. That was part of the, the $1.3 trillion thing that Biden signed that packed in there was charging stations across the country. So that's great.
I heard that Subway was going to be installing some charging stations too.
Really?
Subway was going to be installing some charging stations too. That's what I heard.
Cadillac's going to be installing some charging stations too.
I'm sure they'll
I've
be
been planning
everywhere.
to put solar panels on the roof of the building here. And when you do that, you get a credit if you also connect it to some charging stations. But I'm a
Oh.
little leery just because I'm down the street from a Tesla dealer. So I'm going to get the Teslas constantly.
How do you feel about Teslas?
Yeah, I hate Elon Musk now.
I
I
Why
can't
do you hate
separate.
Elon Musk?
Because he's a fool. Because he is a loudmouth, unwise individual. I respected him so Oh, and also intro on this one. Let's do one piece at a time. Are you Johnny Cash fan?
I am Johnny Cash.
Are you a one piece at a time fan? You familiar with the card? Oh, are you serious?
I'm familiar with Ring of Fire.
Same.
It's card. I got it one piece at a time.
Oh, I
It didn't
am.
cost me a
Because he
dime.
worked at the Assembly line somewhere.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's what I'm
Do you know where Kirby Puckett worked?
No.
Kirby Puckett worked in the Ford Assembly line installing seats to Mustangs or something like that before he got into baseball.
Really?
Who knew?
All right. So yes, we'll do that. Maybe I'll shoot you a couple other. Johnson, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let's I'll send you some cards.
Yeah,
some songs. For you to do
Oh, yeah,
intro
yeah.
and outro. I had a few different card songs I like.
Yeah, that's the only bummer. 2 seconds. You don't have that many songs to throw in there.
I know, you're right.
Catalog's pretty beautiful, right?
Oh yeah, there you go. So our outro will be Pink Cadillac on that last segment.
All right.
Our
there you go.
intro will be One Piece at a Time. Started by putting on wheels on Cadillacs.
All right, guys, we'll stand by. That's pointless at you, since starting with you. All right.
All right. And you said how much time again?
17 minutes.
17. All right.
Yeah, I'll give you a countdown of 5. All right, stand by. And here we go.
Well, I left Kentucky back in 49 and went to Detroit working on assembly line. The first year they had me put the wheels on Cadillac. Every day I'd watch their beauties roll by, and sometimes I nail a head and cry. I was always wanting to one that was all in black.
The man in black, looking for a black Cadillac, because frankly, was there anything cooler at the time? And as we talk about colors and things, the truth is that still a black Cadillac is something to behold.
It looks gorgeous, especially when it's clean and shiny.
And in Minnesota, that happens for 7 days a year.
Hey, we have a new car wash at Key Cadillac, so come on by. I mean, it only takes 3 minutes, you know?
Do you get a car wash when you buy a Key Cadillac?
Well, I invite people to come by and have a car wash all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just go for 2 minutes on the car wash. So 3 years ago, we had to get a new car wash. And so we were thinking of getting a all-water brush-free car wash. So that sounds good, but you spend more money on the water and the chemicals than you do a regular car wash. But ultimately, the reason I decided against it, because the amount of time it would take somewhere between 6 and 7 minutes to do a brushless all-water car wash as opposed to one with soft brushes on it. So, I mean, all I could imagine is Friday afternoon and everybody coming to pick up their service cars, and we got cars backed up forever because we can only get 10 cars through in an hour. We don't need to do that. We're not selling car washes. We're selling service, and certainly we'll wash your car and vacuum your car and we'll wipe it down. But anyway,
But it's, yeah, no, I mean,
that's how we ended up with a brush car wash, soft brush.
Which, quite honestly, I mean, it's not for a while. Do you remember they were doing those plastic car wash things and they would just make a mess?
They had nylon brushes and they would beat the paint and you'd have stuff in there. But we have soft.
And that's a proper way to do a car wash. It's fast, it's efficient. It's one of the things, again, you think no brushes, just pure water, environmentally, what have you. But in fact, you have to look at the big picture of that. And isn't that a brilliant transition into a discussion of electric vehicles?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I've been doing
You're
this
welcome.
a while.
What a great host you are, Greg. I mean, I can tell this isn't your first rodeo, is it? You've done this before.
You give me some alcohol and I am smooth as hell.
baby.
You make me sober and I stare at a wall wondering when it
What did you
moves.
say when you gibberish a little bit? It's talking with cursive. Is that what it is?
That was the Dean Martin quote that I love. It's not called slurring your words. It's called talking in cursive, and it is fucking elegant.
I like it. I like it.
I'm giving you a few beep options on this.
I know you're been up for missing like the last 6 or 7 shows.
Michael brings out the worst in me, apparently.
Oh, come on. I was hoping to bring out the best in you. Come on, Greg.
The best and the worst. With me, it's a very fine line.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk, though. Let's talk about the new line of electric Cadillacs.
Yeah, well, we can do that. And certainly we'll go there. So, according to the head of Cadillac, Rory Harvey, who is actually from the United Kingdom, that is the I don't know what he is, the president of Cadillac worldwide or something like that. He, and along with Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, says that Cadillac is going to be all electric by 2030. So that's 7 years from now.
It's a blink
And
of
it's
an
a
eye.
very interesting transition. So a couple of fun little buzzwords: BEV, which stands for battery electric vehicle, and ICE, which stands for internal combustion engine. So we are start to make this transition this year with the Lyric, which is our midsize SUV, which is stunning. And for all you people out there listening out there, please go to Google and go Cadillac Lyric, LYRIQ, and you can see it. It's stunning. The styling of it's stunning.
It is
The
beautiful.
three most popular questions are: how far will it go? It'll go 312 miles. How much does it cost? All-wheel drive, it costs $64,900.
Mhm.
And how
that's
long
before
will it
there's a
take to
credit.
charge? And if you have a level 2 charger in your home, which, oh, by the way, Cadillac will pay up to $1,500 for, it'll take between 3 and 4 hours to completely charge the car. But anyway, that's our entrance to the main electric vehicle. And they imagine we will sell between 20 and 30,000 Lyrics this year. And the Lyrics are built in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And like all GM electric vehicles, they have the Ultium battery platform, which is unique.
Go on.
What's unique about it is, imagine their files, and there's maybe 8 files in each little pod, and there's anywhere from 12 to 24 pods that make up the battery pack at the base of the car.
Okay.
These pods can be either horizontal or vertical, depending if you want an SUV or a car or a pickup truck or something like that. And if one of them goes bad, you can just replace the individual pod without having to replace the whole battery pack. There's very few wires connected. It's almost like wireless. And the other thing is it uses very little cobalt in it, which is a very hard to get
Rare
mineral.
earth.
Instead, General Motors engineers figured out a way to put aluminum in it. So there's only 10% cobalt in the Ultium battery pack.
Really?
Yes.
Because that's a big thing that people who oppose electric cars always point to, is the use of rare earth minerals and the limitations in that.
Well, there's very few rare earth minerals in the production of an Ultium battery pack. And General Motors is building 3 huge battery facilities, I think 2 in Michigan and 1 in Spring Hill, Tennessee, to support the electric vehicles that they're going to be building.
Okay.
So again, back to Cadillac and their vision to be totally electric by 2030. Again, this is 2023. It's 7 years to go. So the other term is ICE, which is internal combustion engine. So I think maybe in 3 years, we're going to have a internal combustion engine Escalade on the show floor next to a BEV, a battery electric vehicle Escalade on the show floor, and we'll be selling both of them.
And how fabulous is that? You get a chance to drive both versions. Which kind resonates with you? What is most important to you in so many different levels? So that's cool. I'm going to ask you a question that I've never seen anyone address, and I hope this isn't awkward. All right. I know he did the look of fear that just came across.
You're not asking me what I did in college at the Fine Arts College at University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, are you? I'm not going to answer, but
How much
what's the
money do you
awkward
keep
question?
for parole and for bail at any point in the back of the Cadillac? No. No one talks about this. Look, my iPhone, I mean, despite the fact that Apple blows them up after 2 years on purpose, but the battery in my iPhone degenerates relatively quickly. You know, there are only so many charges that you can get into a battery of one kind or another. What about cars?
You know, that's a great question. And I'm shooting from the hip here. I should know this. What is the warranty on the battery on a new Cadillac Lyriq? Now, off the top of my head, I would say that it's 8 years or 80,000 miles.
Okay.
So the good news about that is I don't know how many people will keep their Lyriq past 8 years. There'll be some that will certainly do that. But going back to what I said earlier with this Ultium battery pack that has modules, so if one of them wears out or something, you can just replace that 1/12 of it as opposed to having to replace the whole thing. In addition, General Motors, along with a lot of other OEM manufacturers, are recycling the batteries. So they're using them. They're not just throwing them into a landfill or something like that. They're figuring out a way to recycle the batteries.
That's
and
fantastic.
does the less wiring kind of help with that?
I
does it
think the
generate
less
as much?
wiring helps with that.
Mhm.
Yes, Nim, I do. And again, just the way they designed it, instead of just having one massive battery pack, you've got 12 individual little files, if you will. And within each file, you probably have 8 to 10 individual battery cells. So if something goes awry, you can figure out, well, which one is it? The whole pack isn't bad, but which one is it? And hopefully they will do what they're supposed to do. So going down the road of electric vehicles, as you made the comment about your iPhone, what a lot of people do, and as someone explained it to me, someone that owns a Tesla, he goes, Michael, you don't get it. I said, okay, what don't I get? He goes, well, you drive a gas-powered car and you probably drive it to a quarter of a tank or eighth of a tank, and then you put gas in. And I said, you're right. That's what I do. Because with electric vehicles, you plug it in every night. You might have 80% of the charge left, but you top it off. Kind of like what you do. You plug in your iPhone every night and you totally charge it. And you wake up in the morning, you're 100%.
Great point. It's an absolutely great point. It takes away that entire level of concern associated with the car. And again, there are those, and as you said, driving up north, you might put 300 miles, in a single day or what have you. But for the most part, city driving, suburban driving, this is rarely going to exceed 50, 60 miles a day. And you're always going to have that ability to stretch it into your maximum range.
You're 100% correct. I don't know what the statistics are. 60% of the people drive 40 miles or less a day.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you've got a range of 312 miles,
it's the whole thing.
And you put 40, 50, 60 miles in the car, you're golden. It's fine.
Exactly.
People are working from home, so.
And you charge it from home.
Yeah.
And again, God bless all those people in the towers. You can program your car when you want to charge your car. So it's the least electric rate that you have. So you do it overnight. So you charge it from, I don't know, midnight to 4 a.m. So it costs you the least amount to charge the vehicle, and you go out to your car and you're ready to go. And
that's a great point. I never stopped to think about that. You're right. You can charge up during the lowest rates.
You're right.
Oh my.
You're right. See? And then speaking about charging, you and I were talking in the commercial break. Is that what you call it?
Something like that.
Maybe we were refreshing.
I call it the drinking break, but
the drinking
commercials,
break. Okay,
whatever.
Yeah, that. So this new bill that got passed recently, the $1.2 trillion bill, included in that is putting a lot of charging stations across the United States. I mean, we're talking like 50,000 charging stations. So if you're in Minnesota and you want to drive to Los Angeles, you have charging stations along the way. And these are going to be public charging stations. And they're what's called, a lot of them are DC chargers, which are high amperage electric chargers.
Okay.
So for instance, a DC charger can put in 20 minutes, maybe 200 miles of charge on your car. So that gives you a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And Cadillac has the system that will also guide you to each of the specific Cadillac
Do they
locations.
really, Greg? Do they have an app? And if you could plan your trip on the Cadillac app, it would tell you where the charging stations are and whether they're DC or level 2. Man, you're so smart. I mean, you're not pretty like Nim, but you got it going on. I'm telling you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right.
Hey, do I have time to just talk about the Celestiq for just a minute?
Yes. When does mine arrive?
Well, you got to place an order. Imagine that. You might have to write a letter.
The Celestiq, the uber bespoke electric Cadillac.
So again, I encourage all the listeners out there to go to Cadillac Lyric, Lyriq.
And
I
actually,
also,
don't go to that. Well, and also you can do that, but also Key Cadillac.
hey, go to
website.
keycadillac.com. Absolutely.
Okay.
But anyway, this vehicle is called the Celestiq, Celestiq, which is a handmade, very large sedan. It's very futuristic, not too far from the Jetsons. I don't know. Did you watch the Jetsons growing up?
Meet
It's-
George Jetson. I
it's-
met his boy Elroy.
It's amazing. And
Mhm.
what's the dog's name? I can't remember the dog's name.
Astro.
Astro.
No,
So
ask me what
anyway.
I'm doing in 20 minutes. I have no idea. But Astro is
So
at the tip of
this
my
is
tongue.
a handmade, full-size luxury sedan that's entirely electric, and it's very futuristic. And what's unique about it is that it's totally you. And what I mean by totally you is you pick the color of the exterior, you pick the color of the interior. So, for instance, if your wife had a special purse and you wanted the interior of the car to be like that, they could do that for you. And I think one of the first people that's going to get one is Lenny Kravitz. So again, go look at Cadillac Celestiq. It's phenomenal. It's the epitome of customization in terms of color. It's stunning. It's electric. It's a huge, large sedan that's very futuristic. And if you're one of the lucky 700 people that get one in the next year, God bless you.
Seriously. I mean, it is. I have looked at it, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous vehicle. I mean, the lines are absolutely fabulous. And,
It is.
And that level. I mean, it'll have, I mean, I suppose so. So do you have any idea what the production time on something like this would be?
I would say 3 to 4 months. So what they ask you to do is to go to Warren, Michigan,
Okay.
to the
The luxury town of Warren, Michigan.
No, so it's it's part of General Motors. It's a facility where they build the vehicles,
Okay.
and so you meet with the interior and exterior designers of the car, and you pick out what you want
From beginning to end.
from beginning to end.
I mean, it is
Totally
is-
your vehicle.
I mean, what's so cool about that is, I mean, we started, and boy, did you wrap this up nicely. Because didn't we start by talking about interchangeable parts and standardization, which made
We
Cadillac?
did.
And now we're at the point of complete and total customization.
That's
Dang,
it.
That's a mic drop moment, Stanzak.
That's amazing. That's what happens in 120 years, Gregory Rich. It's amazing.
Everything wraps completely around. I love it.
it.
Are there other Cadillacs that you know of? Because we're running out of time, but that are on the production line that are new or exciting or being redesigned?
Thank you for asking. I have 2 vehicles to mention, and if anybody wants to Google them, one is called the Black Wing,
Okay.
which is a high-performance 682 horsepower sedan.
Oh my God.
It's a 8-speed V8 manual,
You actually arrive before
3
you leave.
pedals. It's just phenomenal. And then the other car that's really fun to look at is Cadillac has entered. It's going to be running at Le Mans, which is a 24-hour race this year,
Mhm.
and it's called the LMDH. So part of it is hybrid, but most of it has to do with the 8-cylinder naturally aspirated V8 engine. And the car looks like something from the Batman movie with whatchamacallit, Keaton. I mean, it looks like the Batmobile. It's just phenomenal looking vehicle. The styling on it. And again, this is the car that's going to run at Le Mans. But the Blackwing is available now. It's available in the CT5, which is our midsize, or the CT4, which is a little bit smaller. CT5V Blackwing or CT4V Blackwing, super high performance engines, both with a manual 8-speed transmission. Can you drive a 8-speed manual transmission? You
well,
can.
An 8-speed, I don't know. Well, I mean, I can drive a manual. So
Well, there you
yes.
go. You got it.
I once
You
saw a
nailed it.
I once saw a bumper sticker that had a picture of a manual gear shift, and it said, "This car protected by millennial anti-theft system." Nim, can you drive a manual?
No, I really wanted to learn, but
It's it's a pain in the butt, and don't worry about it. But I will say one of the funniest quick stories as we wind down here that I ever have is when my daughter, who is now 21, was learning to drive, and she went in for her college or her driving directed driving lesson. We had always taught her on a car that had a push button start. The
Oh.
instructor sits down, hands her the key. She takes the key and she looks at him and says, I don't know what to do with this.
Where do I put it?
I
Right?
know. She literally almost walked out. Sorry, Sophia. I had to throw you under the bus on that one. All right. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We have drunk our way through another Drink in the Style episode. Nim, thank you for mixing.
It was
you for having
delicious,
me.
Nim. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And Michael, thank you so much for being
You're
my guest.
so welcome.
A delight.
So enjoyed your company.
Appreciate that. On behalf of Habitation Design, the District, Edina, and probably, we'll just say bourbon distillers everywhere, I would like to thank you for listening to us and wish
Bourbon
you good luck
distilleries
this coming
everywhere.
week. I'm going to finish out with a quote, which, if you watched us on Facebook or YouTube, you might understand, comes from Oscar Wilde. All children are essentially criminal. Good luck, everybody.
Good timing? Yep. Excellent. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, make it work. Yep. Oh, that's the quote we went with at the end. Nice.
That's the first one that came to mind. I should have spent more time, but it'll work. Yes, Michael, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was a
I
fun.
had a great time. Hopefully I did okay. Hopefully I didn't babble too much.
Not